Coming up in the first episode of our 10-part series, 10 things we know about the Cleveland Browns or found out about the Cleveland Browns this offseason. You're not going to want to miss this because the front office is definitely giving us some tea leaves as how they build their organization. We'll get to the first two things on this episode of the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast. Brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Closing through the week here, Friday morning here. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Your host, Garrett Bush, at GBush91. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen day in, day out. Whether it's on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you follow and subscribe, or on YouTube. Just continue to rip it up there. About 20 new subscribers a day. Just thrilled with the growth over there. Certainly not satisfied, but appreciate everybody, as we're, just finding more and more ways to expand the Locked On Browns brand, giving you guys the best content we can. Today's episode of Locked On Browns is brought to you by Blue Nile. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Browns listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement rings. So it's time, fellas, step up, make the correct decision, and make sure to use Locked On, all caps, no space, at checkout. As Garrett said, and I'll forever wax poetic, our channel manager here for the Locked On NFL channel, Ross Jackson, to say Ross is huge. He is always, and especially this time of year, it's coming up with content that wants to keep you all engaged and keep you coming here. I mean, look, some of you guys are diehards. There's no way around it. And, you guys are the foundation of what this show was built upon. But it's always trying to keep things new, fresh, and everything we can to keep you guys. Look, come July 27th, you're all going to come in droves. We ain't worried about that. We know. But it's keeping you all around here, for the next month or so. So basically, we're going to go here over the next few shows, 10 thoughts here on things that basically we have learned about the Cleveland Browns franchise in the 2022 offseason. So we'll get to a couple of those. I'm just going to close it out here with a fun one here on a Friday. One of our loyal listeners, Jeff's been with the show forever. We were bountying about on social media this morning about, spouses and, others' opinions on, taking your opinions on what you wear. So we'll get to that as we roll into this year. Garrett, I think the first thing that I think, and this would maybe be one of the most important, everybody views the Cleveland Browns organization as a highly analytic franchise, and it is. You don't employ people like Paul DePodesta and all the people behind the scenes, for no reason. You're not going to have these people collect all this data, look at all this stuff, and 100% just completely disregard it. But we've seen some things where it doesn't necessarily everything is going to be done analytically. First things, extending Nick Chubb, a running back, normally under an analytic lens. We draft you, you give us your 4 or 5 years. We move on from you. The odds say that you will not be as successful later on as you were early on. So extending Nick Chubb is one move that certainly does not fall, under the analytic lens. Giving up 3 first-round picks and $238 million guaranteed for a quarterback who has some off-field issues is certainly not something that falls under an analytic lens. Franchise tagging and then extending a tight end who you were basing the best of his career is yet to come. Not necessarily what he's given you yet statistically, but what is yet to come. But there are a move that's analytic. Amari Cooper, getting in for the price you did of a 5th-round pick. And everybody, well, the money's kind of high. Dallas didn't want to pay the money. Well, you turn it all into a signing bonus. And basically you're not paying Amari Cooper any, real money as far as cap is concerned. But not everything. And I think that's one thing that we've learned about this team is as much as it is viewed as a bunch of nerds, a bunch of analytic guys, it is football based, and it is based, and it's certainly with Nick Chubb this has nothing to do with analytics. When you look at a player like Nick Chubb and you bring young players in and you say, if you can do your business like that guy there, number 24, we'll take 53 of them. those are the type of guys we want to go to battle with. And I think you've kind of seen some of that where, yes, the numbers are involved, but a lot of it's going to come down to, what is best, even if it doesn't necessarily meet the analytic lens.
I commend anybody in life who goes about their business and they have a plan, right? The saying is the best made plans of mice and men often go awry. You can have a plan and you could have a opportunity to carry out your plan. But guess what? The NFL is just like life. Things happen. You have to adapt and you have to move to your circumstances. And so when we look at the Cleveland Browns, there's obviously ways people choose to build their teams, right? And they've told us for so many years that running backs, you shouldn't pay them. They told us so many years you couldn't be a team where, why would you extend your guards, right? Our two best linemen are our guards, and Batonio and Teller. Why would you, people say you shouldn't pay big money to guards because, left tackle is the position. They also say you shouldn't have undersized linebackers like JOK as hybrids. And you probably shouldn't go after Deshaun Watson and give him $230 million guaranteed, the biggest guaranteed contract in the history of the game. But what Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have done is said, you know what? We got to work with what we got. We got to work with the cards that we are dealt. And if it means moving and giving Nick Chubb an extension, he's probably arguably our best player. We're going to take care of him. We're going to extend him because we understand that what we want to do is lean on that running game, especially if there's an uncertainty at quarterback. Mind you, we also want a great second back. We also like three running backs, right? We love that. We talk about it all the time. And we'll get to this as well. Love cornerbacks, love big, long, rangy, athletic cornerbacks, DBs, right? So sometimes you're not going to be, have the luxury of sticking to your analytics base. Sometimes you got to do what you want now. You know what I'm saying? You got to go for what you want now. I'm a planner. My wife's an accountant. But she plans a lot. But for me, I always tell people, hey, in this game, you're an independent contract. So either you're going to invest in yourself, or somebody else is going to invest in themselves and get to where you want to go. So if it takes, you got to buy this and spend this and do what you need to do. Sometimes you just got to go and do what you know and get the job done. And I think the Browns are doing that as well. It's just saying, hey, it's a unique way to do it. No one really, throws 3 first-round picks in a guaranteed contract after a quarterback who's on the market who has a lot of baggage. But how many times does a quarterback in his prime come open and he's arguably a top 5 quarterback? He comes available on the market. It never happens. So they had to do something very drastic, very outside of their norm to get the job done.
And I think, analytics and the whole purpose of analytics is to gather as much information as you possibly can to help you make the best informed decision you can. But the problem with that, and this is with anything in life, your heart versus your head sometimes. And look, we all make those decisions. Look, oh my God, that looks fantastic. That is the worst thing I could possibly eat for lunch because it's going to make me useless for the rest of the day. But yeah, I'll take the 20-ounce ribeye steak for lunch. And apparently I'm calling out for the rest of the day. I'm tapping out. This day is over.
That always get me. Like you ever go to them work meetings and guys go to lunch and you got a loaded baked potato, all the trimmings, and you're like, yeah, let me get a dessert menu too. I'm like, you do know it's 1:00. We don't get off to 5:30, dog.
and just so you know, they're taking us out for this nice lunch. That might mean we're going to be at the office a half hour later than normal. Right. But look, with anything, relationships, life, even with your personal spending, we don't necessarily need it. Or everybody, oh man, all right, here's the flyer. We picked it out. It's the 50-inch flat screen. It's smart. It's got everything we need. And the next thing you know, you walk out of the store. You got the 62. You spent $475. Even though you did all the research, you did everything, you had it sold in your mind and everything was good, you got there and your heart said, why not a little bit more? But with the Browns, you could look at a player like Nick Chubb and say, oh, well, we can't have him be our running back for $6 million, so we're going to have to move on. Well, no, if he means that much to you, guess what? you're going to have to go a little deeper. And you get into these things. So, as much as everybody wants to put it, and basically, the money ball of the NFL and that type of stuff, it's just not necessarily the way the Browns do business. It's a plan to get them on the path they want to go to. But once you start succeeding, which, the Browns, almost 20 wins over the last 2 regular seasons, have had some success. But now it's time to tinker and, make sure that whatever you've done to this point, the plan that puts you in place is key. But also you need to adapt the plan to keep your success rolling. We're going to get to a little bit more here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the secondary, because this is one thing we've known about Joe Woods, but I think we've seen a little bit more here from the front office agreeing with Joe Woods about secondary play. Continue through here, your Lockdown Browns Friday edition. Mr. Garrett Bush, Mr. Jeff Lloyd in the house for the ride. Today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions? What kind of engine do you have? What model EX, LX is your vehicle? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand that their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and certainly in your pocket. Save time and money when you're using Rock Auto. It's a family-owned business. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low, and they are for every customer. Whether it's the parts store, whether it's you, everybody pays the same. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box? So they know Garrett and I sent you their way. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
G. Bush back in the building. Jeff Lloyd back in the building. Want to thank everybody out there for subscribing to the Locked On Browns podcast. Really moving some good numbers, good units. You're going to want to subscribe. Do us all a favor. Hit that like button. Right, don't only subscribe, but hit the like button too, because it helps our content get out there as well. Continue to download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Those will be available as well, so you can do both if you like to. We would appreciate it if you do both, and that's something we can definitely get into, and still continue to give this content to you every single day. Your only daily Browns podcast. Let's make it number one in the game. So, Jeff, See, this is actually funny. I forgot what we were supposed to talk about here. What is this? What are we doing?
Well, as it is here, so we're going to cover 10 topics, learning about the Browns, what we learned from the 2022 offseason. One here, Garrett, is there is never enough secondary play in the eyes of Joe Woods, and also keep in mind your general manager is a former collegiate defensive back.
And you know what? We kind of foreshadowed that in the first spot. Defensive backs can never have enough of them, and just happens to have some people scouring Twitter, looking around in the league. One Joe Hayden, former Cleveland Brown Joe Hayden, put up on his Instagram and Twitter a picture of him with the Cleveland Browns. Just throwing it out there, a little cryptic. Joe Hayden played for the Steelers for a number of years after he left Cleveland. And to be honest, he played really well with the Steelers. He had a couple of interceptions on the Browns from the previous 4 or 5 years of being with the Steelers. Is he a number one corner? Not anymore. He's a guy that is a depth piece. He's not a number one guy. He's not a guy that's you're going to put him on an island and lock down. And the Browns really do have a lot of corners. They've invested a lot in that pick. But even a guy like Joe Hayden, I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns take a look at that, given the fact that they love corners. They love the big guys. And look at the way the room is built. Greedy Williams is going into his last year, so he's going to want to have a great year. The Browns may not be able to sign him. So, you got Emerson, you got A.J. Green. You still have Newsome, who's been working in the slot a lot now. He's a first-round pick from Northwestern. And then, obviously, your franchise cornerback, lockdown cornerback is Denzel Ward, who they just gave the big contract extension to. So that's a very deep room back there. But even with that being said, a guy like Joe Hayden or anybody else that the Browns, they will take a look at that. A lot of people will say, well, why do you need Joe Hayden? Why don't you just go with the young guys? And that's because when it comes to training camp, everything that these guys do can turn into hamstring. I remember one year it was Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, and all of our other backup cornerbacks had hamstrings. Didn't even practice mostly during the preseason. And so when you're dealing with that, you can never have enough too many corners. Corners going to IR all the time. They're coming up to tackle people, soft tissue injuries, strains, pulls, hamstring issues. Those things can rear their ugly head, especially during the preseason and during the season. So I'm looking forward to, the Browns taking a look at some of these corners, but they truly, truly, truly really value cornerbacks in the throwing league.
And it goes a little bit beyond that, but we're going to go here a little bit deeper. Now, if we had all said before the 2022 NFL draft started, all right, folks, everybody get your wager in. What will be the position the Browns will draft first in the 2022 NFL draft? We would have gotten a lot of talk of wide receiver, right? Certainly. A lot of talk of defensive tackle. Jadeveon Clowney wasn't back yet. A lot of talk about edge. I think you would have gotten to maybe 6 or 7 where somebody would have mentioned the Browns will draft a cornerback first in the 2022 NFL draft. At the time, of course, Troy Hill was still here. You have AJ Green, you have Greedy Williams, you have Denzel Ward, you have Greg Newsome. You draft Martin Emerson out of Mississippi State. What does Martin Emerson bring? Brings a physicality, brings a little bit more length. As we all know, Denzel Ward, not the biggest guy. Greg Newsome has good size, still needs to basically, grow a little bit more muscle mass into his body. Greedy Williams, solid all around, but a player, obviously, with maybe an impingement, something that's going to hinder him his entire career. AJ Green has some size, has some length to him. Martin Emerson brings a physicality, a style at cornerback that's not like most, where hitting, being physical is something that's truly a part of his game. So certainly with the selection of Emerson, that is one there. But for me, the other one was now Ronnie Harrison. With all that went on for Ronnie Harrison in 2021, you had the ultimate feel of the Browns were, this is just a player they were 100% done with. Foolish penalties, bad play, injuries. It was, all right, this is just something we need to move on from. It's just not working. But you take it from where the Browns viewed it. You know what? 2020, he may have been the best safety we had on our roster. After we were in a tough move over the summer, we needed to get somebody in here. We went down to Jacksonville, scooped Ronnie Harrison up here, and he made some big plays during which was a magical 2020 season for the Cleveland Browns. 2021, another scenario where things didn't go very well. And this is kind of the thing with a player like Ronnie Harrison, kind of goes with the flow. When things are going good, Ronnie Harrison can be a very good player. But maybe one of those players that where things aren't going so great, maybe the structure isn't there. You have some cracks, can kind of get lost. And I think that's kind of what happened to a player like Ronnie Harrison this year. Now here he is sitting out on the island. Nobody's paying much attention. Nobody's offering much money to Ronnie Harrison. And the Browns, we really like Ronnie Harrison. Oh, well, if nobody wants to pay Ronnie the $4 or $5 million that he's worth. Ronnie, you want to come home for 1.5, 2 million? We'll add some incentives in there. And you bring back a Ronnie Harrison, even though you seem extremely satisfied after the first year on the field of Grant Delpit. You think in year 2, the way your defense is constructed, you're going to get exactly what you paid for in a player like John Johnson III. So you bring back in a player like Ronnie Harrison. So here now, again, secondary. So as good as they were at times last year, you were legitimately 5 deep at corner. They feel LeCount, after a kind of a lost rookie year, is finding his way back and more focused here going into year 2, and certainly has the advantage of having all the knowledge of the system in his back pocket. So it's not so much what's going on this year, it's reading and reacting for a player LeCount. The Browns are 9 deep in the secondary right off the bat. So if you want to make the Cleveland Browns in the secondary, you better play special teams, because this team is legit 9 deep already. There's not going to be very many battles in the secondary in training camp. There'll be maybe a couple of guys fighting it out, and it'll be if you can make this team as a gunner, what you can do on a kickoff team. This Browns secondary is loaded. I love it, especially the way the ASC is currently constructed. So certainly, one thing we've also learned is that the love and need, in the Cleveland Browns' opinion, for secondary, it's legit. That is another thing we have learned about this franchise here. We're going to go on to one more topic here, and this is a fun one here for Friday. Look, Garrett's wife, my wife, look, these ladies, when they go out and they got things to do, always dressed well. always dressed well. So the thing is here, how does that translate for a couple ex-jocks for like Garrett and myself? We'll get to that here. Your latest Locked On Browns, Jeff Lloyd, and of course, Mr. Garrett Bush. From the people who invented healthy and tasty comes the latest gift to your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing Coconut Brownie Chunk Bar, but guess what? Your friends at Built have given Coconut Brownie Chunk the Puffs treatment. That's right. The Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Bar flavor you love is in a delicious chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. It's like a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. But stop drooling and listen. They are good for you. Low in calorie, low in sugar, high in protein, and all delicious. Coconut Brownie Chunk Puffs are only here for a limited time. Go to Built.com now to make sure you don't miss out. They are going fast because they taste amazing. All Built bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat it now. Enjoy something that tastes good and is also good for you. The best part about Built Puffs is, of course, they taste amazing, but you can enjoy them guilt-free because they are actually good for your body. They are the perfect treat, perfect when you've got a craving, you need to satisfy your sweet tooth, or if you need a quick snack, they are an excellent source of protein. Delicious coconut, rich sweet brownie, creamy marshmallow. Stop fantasizing. Get to Built.com and order your box of Coconut Brownie Chunk Built Puffs right now. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15 at Built.com.
We back at it. You know, Jeff, this is gonna be a fun one right here. This is one I was excited about doing. When you told me we was gonna do this topic, I said, "Oh, this is gonna be great." But before we even get into that topic, we want to let you know. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Locked On Browns on Twitter. Make sure you go ahead and do that as well. And we do want to thank you guys for making Locked On Browns your daily stop and getting all your information and the most relevant, pertinent, up-to-date information from Locked On Browns podcast, including Jeff and myself. Now, Jeff, you foreshadowed this perfectly. At what stock, how much stock do you put into what your significant other says about your outfit? Now, generally speaking, for me, I like to consider myself a stylish fella. Actually, to be truthful, my mom, she styles me. My mom, this is actually a fact. She comes with like bags of clothes and she just brings them. She knows my size and I just be like, okay, I'll do that. Right. So she stages homes and she does this interior decorating. So I like to feel like she rubs something off on her eldest son. But I will say this, when your wife comes in and says they like that, I guess that's the goal for you to have your wife like it. It ain't about whether the dudes like it so much. It's about what the ladies think, right? And if they think it look good, you might as well go ahead and take the hint. That's like when we tell them, hey, I like that little black dress you got right there. Oh, I like that little red dress right there, right? I like the heels too, right? You like it when she dressed a certain way and moving how she moving around the house. You're like, okay, I see you over there. I see you doing your thing. So it's only reciprocal that guys kind of take, that same cue for the ladies. And on top of it, there's only a couple of things that I won't pay attention too much with. See, my wife is from the Philippines. She don't understand about Jordans. She does, but she don't understand why they cost that much. And she's like, babe, you get 3 pairs of shoes for one pair of Jordans is 3. I say, yeah, I gotta get them though. It's a cultural phenomenon. If you know, you just don't understand right now. So for the most part, I'll take what my wife says. But there are some things that you should disregard. And that even goes to how your clothes fit. Like you said, you gave me something earlier. I was like, yeah, you're right on that. I wouldn't pay attention to that either.
See, the thing for me, and there's a couple of ways to view this. First things first. Now, if you have a spouse who asks you questions about their appearance, my wife usually, works in a school. She's got to dress nice every day. Also works in a salon. So obviously, what she wears is very, relevant to her job. Most of the time, the outfit she'll pick out, or it'll be this shirt with these pants, or there'll be 2 pairs of pants, 3 shirts. What do you like here? Then there's the shoes. So she'll come out with one shoe on her left foot, one shoe on her right foot. And we'll usually and I tell her, do the flamingo, which means pick one of the shoes up so I can see the outfit with one shoe, then put the other leg up so I can see the outfit with the other shoe. So if you have a spouse that's going to that part, obviously she wants some intake on what you're wearing or wants you to ask her opinion on what you are wearing. One other thing with this that I go into is I am married almost 18 years. So somehow, some way, I have still convinced this woman that she thinks I'm somewhat attractive, thinks I'm somewhat good looking. So if there are parts where she thinks I am going to look good in something, then I am most likely going to take that opinion. And we're also of the same, we don't do the skinny jeans. She knows that. She doesn't like it. I don't like it. So that's just a common one there. Prime example, the other night, we're going to my daughter's graduation. So obviously my daughter's graduated and looks very nice. My wife, this is the school system that she works in. So obviously she's got to dress very nice. My oldest daughter, never really one for dressing up. So I'm ready, got a nice pair of pants on, golf shirt. Out comes my oldest daughter, dressed to the nine. You would have thought she was graduating. So the first thing I do is I say, honey, come on. She's like, what? I said, well, I can't be in the pictures with the three of you looking like I do when the three of you look like you were wedding ready. So now all of a sudden it went from golf shirt to button-down shirt, blazer, all of which she gave me the opinion on. It's part of a marriage thing. And, number one, you should want to look nice for your spouse. Look, if you're going for a walk in the park, whatever, shorts and a t-shirt, sneakers, that's fine. But when you're going out and if you want to look nice and, Garrett will say it and I'll say it, we all know we outkicked our coverage. So best we should spruce ourselves up to actually like we belong with our significant other. And maybe we're not either A, the Uber driver, or B, just making sure they get into their destination safely. So, but it's also, it's not even so much that it is a man dressing his wife or a woman dressing their husband. It's a relationship thing. It's things that you do when you are in a marriage, and it's simpler to taking the opinions on, shopping, groceries, dinner. Everybody wants to feel like they had a little bit of input back and forth. So, for me, does she necessarily shop for me? No. Do I take her with me if if we have to go somewhere and I need a new shirt and tie? All right, well, I was going to wear the gray suit. How do you like this? How does this play out? And she's always a big one on, well, get that tie and get that tie. Don't take a tag off either one. So this way, when we get dressed the day of, okay, you know what? Because one day you might be feeling this one, but when it comes time to actually rock the outfit, it's, oh, wait a minute. Now, you know what? That one is the better choice. But it's also, look, as a man, if your wife is dressing up, you want to look nice as well. And of course, you want to do it within what your zone is. And look, everybody knows there are certain no's to some of this. Some of the no's, whatever, the mid-thigh short. Look, if you got the thighs, yeah, go on with your bad self. Otherwise, no, man. I mean, I need mine a little bit north of my knees. But the other thing is also I'm groomed to this for all these years of kids. And my wife used to laugh. She's like, I can't believe you still wear cargo shorts. I said, you asked me to hold three things. The kids then asked me to hold two things. I said, where am I putting all this stuff if I'm wearing thigh-high shorts with two pockets that maybe are about 3 inches deep? Once I put my money in one and my wallet in the other, I have no room for anything. So, but again, it's a marriage thing. And there's nothing wrong with it. But for me, it's the bottom line of if this is the person who chose you, they still think you're attractive. They still think you are good looking. Still think enough to lay down in bed with you. If they say, I think you look good in this, and it's not like they're steering you wrong because look, they know that you're not leaving you. So it's not like, oh, well, he's going out without me, so I'm going to make him look as nice as possible. So everybody's fawning all over him. No, they say, well, that's my husband. I want him to look the best he can. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, listen, look, I believe you can find and get advice from anybody, even your enemy. Sometimes your enemies can give you even good advice what to do, right? So what more better advice than to do than take advice from the woman who says, yeah, I'm going to be with you even if you're broke tomorrow, allegedly. So it's all love, man. All love, man.
And it is. Look, and you know what? Sometimes it's a little simple thing you can do to either A, keep your relationship happy, or but B, let her know that what she thinks matters to you. Because look, at the end of the day, it should, and vice versa. So that's why when your wife comes out, and look, it may take her 15 minutes longer to get ready. She's trying to look the nicest she can. And guess what? even if it's not for you, maybe if it's where you're going, guess what? You were on her arm. So that's the way it all kind of works, and vice versa. So a little fun here on a Friday segment. That actually came from at JX Dubs. Jeff is a big fan of Locked On Browns. Always appreciate Jeff. So we got into that today. Of course, we started a segment here on 10 things we learned about the Cleveland Browns this offseason. Analytics, strong part of what the Cleveland Browns do, but not necessarily the spouse of what the Cleveland Browns do. And there is never, ever a secondary move, cornerback or safety, that the Browns will not ponder, pursue, if they think it's what they need. And we certainly saw that this offseason with the Browns. Been a great week here. Fingers crossed we have something dropping for you Monday, which you guys I know will all really enjoy. We just got to make sure we can make those dots connect here. Still working on that, but we'll come back next week. More of what we learned about the Browns in the 2022 offseason. So appreciate everybody there. Make sure you're following Garrett at GBush91. Make sure you're checking out the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Some technical difficulties yesterday, but hopefully the boys over there will be up and running right as rain today. Make sure Garrett tomorrow, 92.3 The Fan at the barbershop. Shop will be open. Garrett will be offering up some strong takes and cuts, so make sure you check all of that out. Me personally at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Show itself at Locked On Browns. For everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen, you are greatly appreciated. Whatever podcast platform you use, make sure you're following and subscribed. Or YouTube. As I said, the growth here just continues. It's been really exciting. One of the shows was featured on 10 WCBS the other day when we discussed, Deshaun Watson settling the cases. So the growth of the show and where it's getting to, both of us are just extremely excited, extremely proud. We have a great idea as to where this is going. And when we talk about these women who are probably going to dress us, maybe even Mrs. G. Bush, when we get to bigger events, we're going to need some help. So hopefully we got a stable of ladies here that are going to make the boys look good as we go through all this. Everybody, enjoy your weekend. Have a blast. Summertime, it goes by so quickly. You only get a limited amount of time of it. So make sure you enjoy it. Family, friends, have a great time with it all. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.